Hi, Firman.
Hafid.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Well, never mind.
What would you do if you were a famous football player?
If I were famous football player, I play in Old Trafford.
What would you do if you had a lot of money?
If I had a lot of money, I would to buy sport car.
What would you do if you invented a time machine?
If I invented a time machine, I would to year 2030.
What would you do if you were the president of Indonesia?
If I were president of Indonesia, I would to build school in village.
What would you do if you saw a ghost?
If I saw a ghost, I would say hello and run away.
What would you do if you lost on a desert island?
If I lost on the desert island, I would to build shelter.
What would you do if you were a bird?
If I were a bird, I would fly with it.
What would you do if you met a famous person?
If I met a famous person, I would get a photograph.
What would you do if you saw a bank robbery?
If I saw a bank robbery, I would call police.
What would you do if you had a rocket?
If I had a rocket, I would go to Mars.
What would you do if you were a superhero?
If I were a superhero, I would help people. What would you What would you do if you were a famous football player?
If I were a famous football player, I would play in Barcelona.
What would you do if you had a lot of money?
If I had a lot of money, I would buy a big apartment.
What would you do if you invented a time machine?
If I invented a time machine, I would go to year 2004.
What would you do if you were a president of Indonesia?
If I were the president of Indonesia, I would put school in the village.
What would you do if you saw a ghost?
If I saw a ghost, I would get a selfie.
What would you do if you meet a famous person?
If I meet a famous person, I would get a photograph.
What would you do if you was a bank robbery?
If I saw a bank robbery, I would call the police.
What would you do if you had a rocket?
If I had a rocket, I would go to Neptune.
What would you do if you were a superhero?
If I were a superhero, I would save the world.
Okay, Hafid, I have to go now. See you at school.
Okay, see you again.